Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We're continuing our work with a new project truck, which is a 2016 Silverado 2500 HD. And as you can see, we have an air intake system we're going to put in today. This particular one's a K&N. As you can see, it comes with everything that you're going to need, from the air tube to the air box, the air filter, all the couplers and fittings, everything that you're going to need to get this onto the truck. There's other brands out there. There's Air Raid and like I said, others that are out there that are very good. I do recommend, if you're going to do an air intake system, that you get a name brand. There's others that are out there that are 100, 150 bucks, and you really get what you pay for with these. This particular one was $300 that was shipped to my door, which is pretty reasonable. We also added one of these to our previous project truck, which was a 2014 Silverado 1500, and that particular unit was about 250 bucks, again shipped to the door, so they're not terribly expensive. The install on this is going to be pretty easy. It's going to come off in a couple different spots. We've got the airbox that's going to come out, the master airflow sensor and the wiring harness. We've got the tubing that's going to come out. The flannel is part of that. We've got to take off this engine cover so we can get to the throttle body, and then all the associated couplers. There's a hose we got to take off. Should all come off pretty easy. The first two things you want to do is, one, remove the negative battery cable. This way the computer has a chance to relearn itself. One, so all the install is done, and two, just being safe and being smart, right? The second thing is to remove this mass airflow sensor wiring harness. There's a little red tab here. If you were to click, it comes up and it just wiggles out. You may need to get a screwdriver up in here to kind of lift it up, but it should just come out like that. And just carefully put that off to the side. You can zip tie that if you want, or you can just kind of leave it off there. Next thing we're going to start doing is getting these clips out of the way, so we can start getting the air box and the piping out. Once you get your clip off, this piece disconnects from the air hose here, and you can start to lift the top of the air box off. Now there is I hope I can get it here on the camera. There is part of the mass airflow sensor wiring harness that's, there it goes, right up in here. You'll need to take a pair of pliers and kind of squeeze on that to get that to come through the hole, or you can take a screwdriver and pry it through. Either way works. Alright, so once you get your clip released here, we'll just again put that out of the way. This bottom part of the airbox, there's nothing that's really holding it down other than some tabs, and you can just pull up on it. Just like that. So here's where the air comes into the old box, and you can put it off to the side. Next up is to get the engine cover, and this really just snaps into place like that, so you can get to everything. You can pull it up and take that out of the way. Once you get that engine cover off, there's another flathead screw here, or bolt, to undo the next clamp to remove the air hose, or the air tube rather, to the throttle body. Yeah, I don't have a... Okay, once you get that clamp out of the way, there's a vent tube that's here that really just sort of wiggles and pops out like that. Not sure if the camera's seeing it. And this just lifts up, and we just have to work it out of the throttle body, and just make sure you don't have any other hoses or clamps or things that are in the way. I think I might have one here on the bottom that we got to work out. Looks like I got one here, but then this really just comes out. Okay, once you get that off, this just lifts up, just like you can see. There's all kinds of, like I said, restrictive pieces here, 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 and here. And I get it. I know this is engineered a particular way, and it's done on purpose, but we're going to get something on here that flows a lot better. So once we get there, there's a few different bolts that hold down the plate where the stock factory airbox was. Now what we're going to do is remove those. So we can get this plate out of the way, and then we can start prepping the new air box and then the master airflow sensor into the new tubing and get everything start to put it all back together. Okay, the next thing we have to do is remove the stock mass airflow sensor. This is just a couple of T15 Torx screws. As you can see, it doesn't take much to take them out. You do want to be careful with this. It's not like you can go down to your Napa and get another one if you mess it up. So be careful with it. It's electronic. And here's what she looks like. Basically measures air and humidity through this inlet here and tells the computer what to do with the air that it's receiving. And there's all the junk we took out of the truck. Just as we took the stock mass airflow sensor out of the old plumbing, we're going to put the sensor back into the new plumbing. This part of the pipe is what's going to face the filter. This is the part of the pipe that's going to face the throttle body. Therefore, the opening needs to be this way. So we're going to pop that back in. I suppose you could use the old Torx head stuff that came with it. They do supply you with some new ones. We'll just go ahead and use the new ones. If you put this in the wrong way, well, you're going to have a problem. The engine's not going to know what to do with itself, and it's going to run like crap, if it even runs at all. And just snug that down. Don't need to over tighten. No, it's just plastic and some metal. You don't want to snap anything, but just so it's secure and you know, there's no gasket that comes with this one, so it just sits on here properly and it's not going to leak any air. Additionally, there's a spot to put that vent tube back into the new plumbing or the new pipe. Just get that started here. There we go. It's a metal tube with a valve here with plastic threads, so you want to be careful, don't cross thread it. We are going to tighten it down, but you don't want to over tighten again. You don't want to pop the threads and you end up having a problem later. This is the new air box. This is the bottom part. Here's where the filter is going to sit here, and this is the tubing that's going to go out to the throttle body that we were just working on. It comes with a gasket. The gasket's got a little bit of a channel right there to run through this ridge that runs all the way around. It's going to start from here and end here. You may have a little bit of extra. That's okay. You can always cut that off. And what this is going to do is separate the hot air in the engine compartment from the cold air coming in from outside of the engine compartment. And I need a little rubber. And make sure that the air stays separated so you get the most out of your modification here. Once you get your gasket on and you're happy with it, you may need to go back, and like I have a little bit of a gap here, and readjust as needed. Not too big of a deal. Once you get it there, it should stay. We have to put on our adapter for our air filter. So it's got a couple of inserts here, and there's a couple holes here, and it's going to go in facing this way. There's some supplied hardware with some screws and washers and stuff like that we're going to use. The easiest way to probably do this is to get everything ready here in your hand. Put the lock washer on. Get the flat washer on, and then start to thread your adapter. These are just T25 heads on here. Now the new air box goes in right where the old air box came out. Again, your opening here in my hand is where the tube's going to go, so it needs to face this direction here. And then once you get that and you get it seated, there you go, just like that. You just use the stock hardware, in this case the 10mm, I think, bolts that were in there to secure it back in place. Now we took 4 bolts out of the stock box, and we're only putting 3 bolts back in the new box. So if you have one left over, don't worry about it, you're okay. Next up is to take the coupler, and it looks like this. And the kit comes with a number of these O-ring clamps that are going to go on here. So we're going to get one here, and we're going to get one here, and I do recommend having them in the same direction, just so it's easier to service and see that you got them. And it's just going to go right onto the adapter that we put on the air box here. You don't need to tighten them down just yet. You can get them a little snug if you want, but just get them in place. And once we get the air tube in there, we can tighten it down all the way. In the same way, you're going to want to take the elbow that comes with the kit. This is the larger end. I've already got the clamp on there. I've actually tightened it up just a little bit because it does fit on here kind of loose, as you can see. I don't want it to go anywhere. With the kit comes with a new vent tube. You'll need to run it up underneath here and secure it with the new clamp that's right in there. Careful when you're tightening up you don't bump into the fuel injector. We're finally ready to put our new air intake tube in here, but before we do that, we need to put our final O-ring, and that'll go right here on the elbow. And just like the other ones, you want to make sure this is facing up and easy to get at. This will fit in up underneath this radiator hose here and into the elbow here, and it should just kind of slide right in, which is why we didn't snug everything down before. And once you get it in there, at each point you're going to want to push in so it's not sloppy and tighten each point. You can do this with a drill. I do recommend doing it by hand because you don't want to over tighten and damage anything. You can do that easily with a drill. Here you can kind of feel when you're getting tight. Okay, I found and tightened everything up, making sure everything was good. It was probably better to tighten this side first and come back and tighten this side, so I've gone ahead and done that. So once you get everything adjusted and you're happy where it's at, I know the camera's not picking it up, but you got to get your vent tube back into place, and it just presses into the valve that we installed. And then after that, somewhere down here is my, there it is, mass airflow sensor wiring harness, and it's just going to reinstall just as we took it off. It's going to pop into place. There's a click, and then the red safety pin that's on there. Okay, we're finally on to the home stretch. This is the new K&N cotton and oiled high airflow filter, and you can see what a difference this is from what we took out of the truck, which was this guy. You know, paper, I don't want to say it's totally restrictive, but you know, you can get a lot more airflow out of something like that than what we just had in here. So I'm going to put the paper one off to the side here. It comes with a big clamp that's going to go right on here like this. Again, make sure that your nut here, or your screw, or your bolt rather, is all kind of set up and easy to reach. And you're going to have to kind of fit this in here and press it into place. We'll rotate the clamp up. There's a little bit of a lip on here, and that's where you want this to sit. And not sure if the camera's picking it up. Let's see if I can move it a little to a better spot. Hopefully you guys have a little better view of the filter and what it looks like. There's a little bit of a lip right here that this is going to sit on as soon as I find it. Make sure that's in all the way. There we go. And we're just going to get it started here with the ratchet extension. Okay, got a little better shot of the air filter. The truck's a 2500, so it's up in the air a little bit. But basically, just tighten that clamp right in there. There's a little lip that this sits on. Make sure it's nice and snug. Don't over tighten it, just make sure it's not going anywhere. And once you get that, all we really need to do is put the engine cover back on and put the negative battery terminal back on. We've got this other piece here we took off that we're just going to bolt back into place there, and we're going to give it a test drive and see how it goes. Okay guys, so there you have it. That's all there is to it, to installing the CAI cold air intake system to your truck. Now, a moment ago I just played what the throttle sounded like. I do need to tell you, if you have not been following along, this truck already has a MagnaFlow catback system on there, so that's not all the intake. There's an exhaust on there. But with the intake on there, the exhaust on there, I am expecting some good fuel economy gains. We did this on the last project truck, and I was getting, around town between 1/2 mile and 2 miles per gallon better, which, some say that's a pretty mild gain. I think that's pretty significant. On the highway was even better yet. There was probably at least a second off of 0 to 60 time, and just a much better throttle response. So I'm hoping to get the same type of results with this. And again, that's all there is to it to installing one of these.